Good afternoon, everyone. Yours truly, Pastor Todd, coming to you from my office, which is full of crosses. Remember, I'm having a cross hunt, like an Easter egg hunt. Now, there's probably a dozen crosses on this wall. I may talk about a few of them over these Eastertide meditations, but not each one. I mean, it's kind of not fun to find eggs when they're all together out in the open. Just like that, I'm going to look for crosses that are kind of hidden. But I do want to talk about one of the crosses here in my office today, and that is one in this painting. Et voila. This is a painting done by our own Rose Parker. It was for the silent auction at the Harvest Fair last year, and I just had to have it, so I bid on it. If you can see, you may have seen it in my office already. It is a painting of our sanctuary. And you see our floating cross right there. And here, the little one, this is our altar cross, the gold one. I may talk about that altar cross before this is all done. And there's a lot of reasons why I love this painting. And thank you, Rose. One is she painted the sanctuary empty, which is a great way to paint it because you can see everything. You can see the pews and the stained glass windows and all of the beautiful parts of our sanctuary. I pray in the sanctuary almost every day that I'm here, and this, of course, is what it looks like when I pray. There's no one here usually during the weekdays, and I get to pray in silence. So it often reminds me to pray, and that's really what we're talking about in these Eastertide daily meditations is ways to pray, specifically looking at the Christian mystical tradition, those mystics that try to open up a space for the experience of God in their prayers. So we're gonna cultivate that mystical sense of prayer by listening to a poem by Christian mystics every day that we do these meditations. So here is let's see, today is Sunday's the 26th, 25, 24, 23. So here's your poem for April 23rd, 2020. This is by Dante Alighieri. You'll remember Dante is the writer of the Divine Comedy. This is entitled, The Love of God, Unutterable and Perfect. The love of God, unutterable and perfect, flows into a pure soul the way that light rushes into a transparent object. The more love that it finds, the more it gives itself, so that as we grow clear and open, the more complete the joy of heaven is. And the more souls who resonate together, the greater the intensity of their love, and mirror-like, each soul reflects the other. It's by Dante Alighieri. Now this is what the editor of that book full of poems had to say. Virgil is speaking these lines to Dante while they are traveling through purgatory. A pure soul is like a transparent object. To the degree it is unobstructed by our egoic needs and demands, it can absorb the love of God. Our task is to grow clear and open, and the Purgatorio stage of Dante's journey is for just that purpose. It purifies him through healing fire and prepares him to be ready and able to gaze unflinchingly on the beauty he will find in Paradiso, the third and final part of the journey. Dante also says in this passage that as we keep company with pilgrims of like mind and heart, so our love will be deepened still further. So we thank Roger Housden for those words on Dante's poem. So one of the reasons we did this cross hunt is because it's Easter season. Also, these 4 points of a cross, keep in mind the 4 types of prayer and the 4 stages. Types of prayer are petition, intercession, thanksgiving, and adoration, general types of prayer. And the stages you remember from Father Thibodeau's book, The Armchair Mystic: praying at God, praying with God, listening to God, and being with God. Yeah. So we're going to stick with the first one, praying at God, for a few of these meditations. And I remind you what I said yesterday. Just because it's the first stage in the evolution of prayer does not mean it's unnecessary. It should be left completely behind. Because of a time of day, praying at God is maybe all you have time for, and it does serve a purpose in our spiritual growth, reminding us of the resources that have been left to us by our ancestors in the faith. Praying at God is when we just use prayers that have been memorized, or scriptures, prayers that we use in worship, like the Our Father, of course. We use those and we just speak those words at God, and it serves a purpose in our spiritual growth. And we're going to talk about a form of praying at God just called reflection, prayer reflection, or reflecting on prayers. So I want you sometime today, find that armchair we talked about, the sacred space. Spend 5 minutes, and I want you to reflect on the Lord's Prayer. This is what I want you to do. This comes from Father Thibodeau's book as a prayer exercise. So sit in that chair, try to find a quiet time, and if you live with other folks, a time when they can leave you alone for a second. And I want you to say out loud the Lord's Prayer 3 times. And I want you to just monitor your heart as you're saying that out loud, and I want you to choose a phrase that sticks out for you at this time. So you say the Lord's Prayer 3 times. Let's say that the line, "Give us this day our daily bread," is the one that sticks out for you. So ask yourself, when you choose that phrase, who is God in that phrase? So, give us this daily bread. Give us this day our daily bread. Who is God in that? And one answer could be, and these answers are yours when you do this exercise. There's not a right and wrong, but you might think that this "give us this day our daily bread" is showing God as a provider. Then I want you to kind of go through in your reflection, who is God in this phrase that you chose? And then answer some of the W questions. If God is a provider, what does he provide? How does he provide it? That's the 1H of those. When does he provide it? It's a time to reflect. These 5 minutes is to reflect on, and it will show you how you see God in the world. So we want to, over this Eastertide, when we're quarantined, we want to take advantage of this to do some practices, growing our spirit, and prayer, of course, is arguably the best one. So my video meditations are 15 to 20 minutes, and if you spend that 5 minutes doing the exercises that I describe here, that's half an hour, 25 minutes, half an hour that you can devote. And this sounds like a coach, one of those coach sayings like, "Don't you have 30 minutes to practice your place kicking?" Or a music teacher. Jeff, if you're watching, maybe you do this. "Don't you have 30 minutes to devote to your piano lessons?" So this is me asking you to consider devoting 30 minutes to your spiritual exercises, your spiritual growth. So just a recap of what we're going to do. We're in the first stage of our prayer lives, praying at God. We're going to find our armchair and spend 5 minutes. We're going to say out loud the Lord's Prayer 3 times. Choose one of those phrases out of the Lord's Prayer that kind of jumps out at you, and then reflect on that one phrase. Ask yourself, who is God in this phrase? And ask yourself some more W questions. Who is God in the phrase? Where do you see God in that way? How does God do these things? Again, there's no right or wrong answer, so spend some time with God. Let's see. So we found our cross, I read you a poem, and then we talked about prayer in the mystical tradition. So that's all for today, ladies and gentlemen. I see on my computer timer that it's, my phone timer, that it's 10.5 minutes. So if you spend 5 minutes in prayer, that's only 15 minutes, and you've taken a step in prayer development, spiritual development. So I hope you do so. And as always, I love you, and God loves you.